Hey, my name is Hailey Zega, and today we are in the Ozark National Forest. We're going to be hiking the Whitaker Point Hawksbill Crag Trail, which is where I went missing 20 years ago. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you'll know this is not my first time back out here, but I love coming out here anyway, and it's such a beautiful day that, you know, we're happy to celebrate nature. This hasn't always been here, and this isn't a joke, this is real. It can get kind of treacherous out in these parts. So as we're shooting this video, it's actually early April, and as you can see kind of in the distance, the trees are starting to bloom, starting to bud a little bit. When I went missing, it was the tail end, very late April, and a month from now, this area will look completely different. Sightlines here are really clear at the moment, but a month from now, it'll be impossible to see this far. And so it was quite easy to get lost in a place like this when there's tree cover and leaf cover, unlike now. Not that it's not easy to get lost now, you could totally get lost now. So we're not actually gonna hike down to the river today, that's a project for another day. But the Buffalo River, which flows through the valley here, was actually America's first nationally protected river. And something I learned after my ordeal when I was following the buffalo, after I was rescued, I learned that if you are desperate for water, drink the moving water, not the stagnant water, because it's healthier, I guess. There are no little microbes. There are no little microbes in there. So this tree is kind of a landmark. We always stop at this tree because it's kind of a neat tree. The other side is hollow. But here's the thing. If you're on a hike and you're appreciating nature, don't carve your name into a tree. Don't leave graffiti. Come on, man. Just don't do that. That's unacceptable. Here's something I want to talk about just briefly. If you are out in nature and you're on a trail, don't build one of these. Don't do this. There are multiple reasons why. One of them is on truly remote and rugged trails. A lot of times rock piles or cairns like this are used as trail markers. So if you're building random ones, you can actually cause someone to get disoriented and possibly get off a trail. The other reason is that disturbing rocks like this can actually lead to habitat destruction for the animals and insects that live in these woods. So I know that you might think that it's like fun and cool and art, but it's actually better for everyone if you don't do this. However, if you see one, don't knock it over because it can have the same effect as like habitat destruction, or it might be possibly a legitimate one put by people who actually maintain trails. So don't add them, but don't take them away either. So it might make sense to you when you hear the word Ozark and hear the word Arkansas. They are actually intrinsically linked. Ozark comes from a French phrase, Oz Arkansas, Ozarks, which means like of the Arkansas people. Arkansas was what the Osage who lived north of here referred to as, or used to refer to the Quapaw people who used this area as a hunting ground. So when the French settlers came, they heard that word and they designated this area as of the Arkansas people, Ozarks, and then that's also where we get the state name Arkansas. Early white settlers from the Ozarks were, a lot of them were from the Appalachian region, which is why Ozark culture and Appalachian culture is actually really, really tightly linked. And you can hear a lot of similar music in the Appalachians and that you can in the Ozarks, and I think there's also a distinct spirit of ingenuity and creativity, innovation, and a lot of strength that the Appalachian people brought with them to the Ozarks, and that's a culture that you can still find prevalent in the people that live here today. A lot of these people had roots in Irish immigration, German immigrants, English immigrants, and you can hear, when you compare Irish folk music to Ozark folk music, you can hear some really amazing similarities, and even a lot of the same instruments are used to create Ozark folk music as Irish folk music. And a lot of the folklore from around here comes from German folklore. So if you explore German fairy tales, you'll see a lot of direct links to Ozark folklore, which I think is really amazing that you can trace history like that. Welcome to the beautiful Ozarks. I truly believe that these mountains get into your blood. And you know, I know that they're not as high as the Rockies or as dramatic as some other mountain ranges that we have in this country, but they are actually some of the oldest on Earth. Some of the oldest exposed rock on the planet exists in the Ozarks. The St. Francis Mountains in Missouri, which are part of the Ozark Mountain Range, were formed 1 billion years ago. That's billion with a B. And there's something amazing about that I think you can sort of feel when you stand here, that you're in a truly ancient place. And we know for sure that native tribes like the Osage and the Quapaw have a 9,000 year history here. There have been bluff dwellings that have been discovered that have been used for generations on generations on generations. And those people found these hills as inspiring and beautiful as I do, and as the people who live here now do. And I think that's amazing. Old rock. Alright, so right now we are at Hawksbill Crag, which was where I was hiking to when I went missing 20 years ago, and I love this spot so much. It's probably one of my favorite places in the world. It's got an incredible view, and it's a really popular hike, and you can see why. And it's just so peaceful out here, and one of the things that I think about when I sit here is that you have such a direct link to history. I mean, when you touch the rock, you're physically connected to the earth when it was new. It's amazing. And when you hear the music and listen to the stories of the people who settled here, you have a direct link, and you can hear the echo of the voices of those people. And they were people who also loved this land and took inspiration from it. They were strong and innovative, and I just think that that's incredible that we can contact our history like that. So this is the last place I was seen before I went missing, right here at the top of this waterfall. And 20 years ago, this place was kind of unknown. Now it's maybe one of the most famous hikes in the Ozarks, but back when I was out here in 2001 with my grandparents, it's still a very remote and rugged place today, but most people didn't know this was out here unless you lived here or were from here. And you can see evidence of more people knowing about it. The trails are more easily followed and more clearly marked nowadays, but you could still get lost out here relatively easily, don't get me wrong. So right now, we're standing, behind me is Upper Hailey Falls. It's a waterfall, actually at the top of the waterfall is where I was last seen before I went missing, and after I was found, it's the waterfall that they named after me. And it's actually two-tiered, so this is the top part, and it actually extends further in front of me, but it's a little dangerous to go down there, so I'm not going to do that. And it's a truly beautiful place. It seems to be a pretty popular camp spot. There's like evidence of a campfire under there, which is great as long as you pick up your trash and don't leave graffiti and, you know, are respectful of the area. And yeah, it's really wonderful. Every time I come out here, I pay a visit to my waterfall. The two men who rescued me, ultimately found me, William Jeffalines and Lytle James, they came from generations of people who had called this place their home. So they could trace their families back generations and generations to some of the early settlers of this area. And a lot of their family still does live in this area. And so because of that, they were sort of uniquely able to traverse the terrain and to come up with a strategy as to how they were going to locate me. And it worked. And because they had that unique knowledge, they were able to put it to a really important higher purpose and ultimately save my life. All right, so there's definitely a way to hike around to get down to the waterfall, but you know, I've never been one to do something the easy way, and this is how I've always done it. So I'm gonna climb this tree right now. Years of practice. So right now we're standing in the churchyard in front of the cemetery of the Cave Mountain Church on Cave Mountain Road, which is the road that leads up to the trailhead to hike down Hawksbill Crag. And on the first night that I was missing, this area was full of cars because this is kind of where people gathered to try to figure out what to do. There wasn't really a game plan in place yet, and so everyone sort of gathered here, and it was literally, as far as I know, because I wasn't there, packed with vehicles. It's kind of empty right now, but picture it just full of cars. If you need to make a whistle and you don't have one, say you're lost in the woods, if you're somewhere that has oak trees and therefore acorns, what you do is you take an acorn top and it needs to have like a pretty good sharp edge, and you can make a whistle out of the acorn top. So you put your thumbs like this, like you make a Y, and you make a little wedge that's visible of the acorn top. And then you put your lips on your knuckles and maybe. So I would be truly remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank the amazing effort and all the manpower and hours that went into rescuing me. It was a truly selfless act by so many people that I have never met and probably will never meet. I have to thank my rescuers, William Jeffalines and Lytle James. I need to thank Colleen Nick at the Morgan Nick Foundation. I have to thank Tim Ernst. I have to thank the people of Newton County and beyond. They truly came together in my family's time of need. And I'm living proof that when you work together for a common goal, that miracles really can happen.